Hi, and welcome to our third segment of this webinar. In this segment, we're going to deal with a little bit more on innovations in education, specifically student engagement in technology, and then we're going to switch over and talk just a little bit about some of our research endeavors. So let's begin with our first project, which is we'll call the Friends of the Library project, and this is, you're going to be seeing a 9th grade language arts class taught by Holly Hanna, and she'll explain the project to you in the video. So let's go ahead and show that.
For several years, I thought that I had been teaching project-based lessons in my classroom, and it wasn't until the project-based program was implemented that I realized I've been doing projects in my classroom, but not necessarily project-based.
Show them what you do. Come on, right? Present. As Mr. Duke said, right? I know. Okay, pretty ordinary.
Did you do like to keep the bag?
What the library project was at the end, what we were going to produce was advertising for the library.
Oh, I know.
So we decided to go with taking a library card and putting it on a background.
Like on a big billboard, so the library card is like the focus, and then the background, like of the library card, would be like shattered glass, and then be like light streaming through.
And then kind of be
CC
like,
came up with a great slogan.
it's like this card has no limits, like because credit cards have limits, but you know, you can check out as many books from the library as you want.
And then there's this big long thing explaining it. You probably
So
don't
the
know.
students played with different ways to make the card look like it was moving, different ways to make the shattered glass look more, give it more of a cartoon effect, so it didn't look so odd. But in the end, they just were not happy with the results. They weren't getting the image that they had envisioned. As we were getting close to the deadline, the students said, okay, we need to scrap this and we need to come up with something that's much more original or something that we can actually turn into an image. And one student wanted to look at satire and look at the library as being timeless.
You know, just saying I'm expert on like, I like that. That was good. I like that.
Like this. So you have
Yeah.
break it down.
Chapter and then starting.
Like that's hilarious.
Okay, so just slightly bigger, and then the other one.
And maybe like not necessarily just have it stand up somehow.
Okay.
One of the most important aspects of this project, I believe, is just teaching kids to really tune into their creativity. That we're in the 21st century and it requires that students be innovative and that we teach them how.
Good afternoon.
Okay, and that video closes with those students presenting to the Cedar Falls Public Library Board of Directors. And you might want to click on that and watch the rest of it at your leisure, because kids do a really nice job on that particular project. All right, now we're going to jump to some other technology-enhanced projects that kids have worked on. Is it drumming we're doing first?
Yes, we're going to
Okay.
do drumming.
Hey, do you think 2 is better than 1? Yeah. Or more.
And this is a project that a student had to do as a final project to his technology class. And so he had to implement a lot of different video and special effects. The last thing that we're going to take a look at is a couple of pictures that really talk about Hyperstream, and what our students are doing is,
I think we need to do the cell project.
okay, let's do Hyperstream and then we'll go back to the cell
Okay,
project.
that's fine.
All right. In terms of, you can see what the students are doing is they've actually started working on Saturdays and after school to team up with Far Reach Technologies to develop a website on food and restaurants in the area. They are actually searching out restaurants that have certain low calorie meals, ones that are low in fats,
Gluten-free?
that are some of the restaurants that use, they buy local.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're really looking at developing an app for the iPad so that students and the community members, especially university students that come in and come out, and they need certain information on restaurants, they're trying to provide that app. It's a really great technology piece. And now we're going to take a look at cells and the cell projects in biology. The biology teacher has always done analogies for cells, and students often used to draw them on the posters. And some of the students chose to do that, but most of the students chose to really develop these in Photoshop or on a PowerPoint. And then she did a unique thing. She had students present their posters to the class, and the class then had to critique them and provided the students with feedback. So this is the first
Draft.
draft. Right, thank you. This is the second draft after the other students in the class had critiqued her PowerPoint. This is her third draft, and then they critiqued it again. And this is her final draft based on the students' critique. And you can see that it becomes more and more sophisticated, and visually it conveys what she wants to do with the cell analogy. Now this is another student's cell analogy. This is his final one. And this is a third student. So students actually did analogies that were very student-centered in terms of they selected their own analogy, their own photos, their own pictures, and put it together. And the nice piece about it is that students learn to critique in a positive manner to improve each other's writing.
And these are all displayed in our biology room now, and they're in a pretty good size. These were all, this was the iPad class that worked on these, in case you're wondering. So we had the iPad classes that generated these, and you really can do a lot with the iPad. That's another issue, but that kind of brings us into talking about the research. Is that on the next slide? Yes. That we've been working on, and as you may or may not know, we've instigated a one-to-one computer initiative in our high school, in which half the kids have iPads, half have MacBooks.
And we randomly assign those because we're doing an experimental study on this. And we're ready to publish some of the initial research.
And because we're kind of coming up with conclusions at different times, we wanted to release results when they were ready and as they would most help other schools, because this is becoming a big question in Iowa schools right now. So the first part, part one of the paper, will deal with the infrastructure requirements for successful one-to-one transformation in schools, and that one's about ready now. And really, it's kind of for a technologist in terms of what are the requirements.
What are the wireless requirements, and how many hubs you should have, and what type of connections you have with that, and how to monitor all of the computers.
Anyway, that's about done right now. Part 2 is the MacBook versus iPads for transformational education, and we've collected data from teachers and from students regarding those two devices. And one of the things we are finding is that certain devices are better depending on your content area. So a French teacher has different needs than a science teacher, has different needs than a social studies teacher. And so that will be good reading for Iowa teachers as they move to make that decision. And that should be done relatively soon.
Part 3 is really on the challenges of transitioning to a one-to-one environment, and it really talks about parts of changing your pedagogy to use those as technology tools, and what are some of the skills and what are some of the training that you need to be able to make those transitions.
And part 4 is student engagement changes as a result of technology. And we have baseline data that we collected last year on student engagement in our high school classrooms. And we're going to be taking a look to see how much that has changed and in what way it has changed because of the one-to-one computer initiative in our school.
And part 5 is the final one, which is really the impact on technology tools on student achievement. Obviously, we've collected the Iowa assessment data, and we will be looking at specific grades and in terms of comparisons of iPads to MacBooks, and just in comparisons of last year to this year to really talk about that. The last research that we well, actually, it's not the last. It is the last research piece that we're doing. We're investigating the effectiveness of systematically implementing the 7 habits in a pre-K through 12 school. We'll look at student engagement, academic achievement, and affective domains. We're collecting that data as we transition through this year. And the final piece that we're looking at is competency-based education. We are actually doing competency-based grading in language arts and mathematics, and we're going to transition that to science and social studies. And we also are one of the schools that have completed a waiver for 2013 to implement competency-based education, with the idea that students could move seamlessly through as they have developed their competencies, and it won't be seat time. Right now, we're looking at reorganizing our schedule so that kids can move seamlessly in math and kids can move seamlessly in literacy throughout a continuum.
And that really brings us to the end of our 3 parts of our webinar. I hope you've enjoyed tuning in, and I really welcome you to come to our website and spend some time on the materials that are posted there. And I put my email up there. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of these ideas? It's an exciting time for education. There's so much going on, and it is so easy to share information and find out what other schools are doing, and we're really excited to hear from you. So thank you very much for tuning in. Lynn, do you have any parting words?
No, just visit our website, and we're looking forward to collaborating with you. Thanks.